Continuing from Paul's introduction in verse 1, where he establishes his identity, calling, and mission, he transitions seamlessly into verse 2 to emphasize the continuity and fulfillment of God's plan. Verse 2 states, which he promised before through his prophets in the Holy Scriptures. This verse serves to affirm the divine origin and historical continuity of the gospel. Paul underscores that the gospel he preaches is not a new or novel invention, but is deeply rooted in the promises of God as revealed in the Old Testament scriptures. The phrase, which he promised before, points to the fact that God's plan of salvation through Jesus Christ was foretold long before it was fulfilled. This promise was communicated through his prophets, individuals divinely inspired to convey God's messages and revelations to his people. By referring to the Holy Scriptures, Paul is directing his audience to the Old Testament, where numerous prophecies and promises about the coming Messiah and the salvation he would bring are recorded. For example, Isaiah chapter 53 provides a vivid prophecy of the suffering servant who would bear the sins of many. Jeremiah chapter 31, verses 31 through 34, speaks of the new covenant God would establish with his people, a covenant fulfilled in Christ. Paul's reference to the prophets and the Holy Scriptures serves a dual purpose. Firstly, it validates the gospel message by showing its foundation in God's long-standing promises. Secondly, it connects the new Christian faith with the rich heritage of the Jewish faith, demonstrating that Christianity is the fulfillment of God's redemptive plan revealed throughout the Old Testament. Understanding verses 1 and 2 together, we see Paul's mission as an apostle who is set apart for the gospel, a gospel that is not a human invention, but a divine fulfillment of ancient promises. This understanding reinforces the authority and authenticity of Paul's message. It encourages believers to see the gospel not as an isolated doctrine, but as the culmination of God's faithful promises throughout history. This continuity between the Old and New Testaments provides a solid foundation for our faith, reminding us of God's unchanging nature and his sovereign plan of salvation through Jesus Christ.